Okay, y'all, we are talking about anger today, something that we are all quite familiar with, right? And you never know when it's going to happen because somebody else always does something that makes you mad, right? So they do it, they make you mad, and we got to somehow deal with all these idiots around us. And it's tough, right? And you dealt with that a little bit today. You just never know what people are going to do. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Trina Titus Lozano, and I'm a counselor and ordained Christian minister. Yeah, seriously, stop the insanity. But you know, it is that indignation that happens when we get very disappointed to different degrees. Disappointed. And, we have to cope with either a need that wasn't met or an expectation that wasn't met or something. But yeah, you've got lots of great tips and pointers on there, Susan. Okay, Proverbs 29:22. An angry man stirs up dissension and a hot-tempered man commits many sins. So we really don't want to do that. We don't want to get to the place where that outburst of anger is just absolute blatant sin. The wages of sin is death, and ultimately that's going to be the cause, is our own destruction whenever we just let our anger get carried away. And so there's degrees, though. The first degree, that indignation, that simmering anger, which is provoked by something unjust or perceived as being unjust, or we feel like a right has been violated, or we've been hurt, or an expectation has not been met. So there's that simmering anger. You know, you just feel sort of sick inside, and it's like, yes. But I am specifically talking about when things get out of control. We could talk about the righteous anger in Mark 3:5 as an example of Jesus becoming really angry at that hypocritical religious leaders. And that spirit, you know, that's really called enmity, is that righteous anger. It's that enmity that you get so mad at the devil, so mad at deception, so mad at the evil in the world. Yes, we're mad about the same thing he was mad at. That's enmity. We're going to call that enmity. And that is really what can really motivate you to pray, motivate you to just go to battle, go to war, a spiritual battle, right? But if there's been a hurt or an injustice or fear or frustration, you know, where you're really feeling like, enmity, enmity, is that righteous anger. Okay, wrath. We've got the indignation, that simmering anger. Then there's the wrath, the burning anger. You got it, Susan. That's it. The fury, that real fiery anger. And then the rage, the blazing anger. That rage is when it turns into sin, when it is blazing anger, it is out of control, and you can't be stopped. You just turn into a crazy person. It's out of control. It can even be violent if you let it be, you know, and that is yes. So you want to keep a handle on that, right? Don't let that get to rage. Let it turn into the Incredible Hulk where you're just like, that's where it gets really destructive, and that's where it's dangerous, very dangerous. Wendy, hey, welcome back, Wendy. Good to have you on the Periscope today. That's what we really want to avoid, and Proverbs does a lot to really warn us about that. It is a daily thing. Well, you know what? It could be a daily thing or not. You know, it just depends on everybody else, right? It's like if everybody would just be great all day, it wouldn't be a problem. But, you know, people do things that make us angry. But, you know, it's not about that. Really, the freedom comes when we understand to see those warning signs, when we can see that red light going off, the warning light that says, watch out, that just pissed you off and you might say the wrong thing or you might go crazy, so just be careful. You see that warning light, you feel the thermometer and the heat just sort of rising, and you're like, whoo, I need to pray about this because that was crazy, you know, and you're just like, it could be really difficult. But you know, whenever it gets to that place, yes, remove yourself from the situation. Oh, you remember that? That's funny. Remove yourself. Okay, number one, realize your anger. Y'all, if it's been a day or two and you're still thinking about this and you're still really upset about things have not been resolved, number one step, realize it, admit it, be like, you know what? I am really mad about that. I am seriously hurt. I am seriously wounded, or I'm very disappointed, or I'm mad. I'm mad about that. That was wrong, and I am mad. When there's that, even if it's a righteous anger, but you feel seriously hurt, your rights have been violated. And it hurts big time, y'all. First of all, realize it, admit it, and talk about it. Talk about it like to a counselor, or make an appointment with your pastor or with a friend, just for the specific purpose of realizing it and talking about it, because this is where you're going to be able to get past it in a healthy way. So I want you to do that very first. Oh, why am I offended? And lots of times, man, why? Here's another question. Why am I holding on to this offense? Why am I holding on to it? Oh, it is so hard. It's hard after years and years. Thanks for putting my website up there, TrinaTitusLozano.com. And I have periscoped on anger before. It's been a long time, and it's always slightly different. Hi, Carlin. Welcome to Periscope today. It's great to have my California girls with me, Carlin and Wendy, and it's great to have you. So, but this is something that literally day in and day out, it happened to me this week, where I was very disappointed on Sunday. I was disappointed. I was upset. If you were periscoping with me on Sunday, man, I just started praying. I was really upset. I had a client that made some bad decisions, and man, it upset me, and I was mad at the devil. That's true. Sometimes we do get angry, but we've got to let those tears go from that anger into tears of sadness. You have a really good point there. Reminded of times other people have hurt you and you haven't dealt with it. It's true. It could just bring up old wounds. I know. It's so true. So I was so hurt. I was so disappointed. And I just had to let that motivate me to pray. Seriously. But I had to admit it. I had to admit, you know what? This hurt me. This hurt me. You were just venting to God. God is the perfect person to vent to. Isn't that true? He's so perfect. But yes, abortion, just so much stuff that breaks his heart. It's true, breaks your own heart, breaks the heart of God. But man, holding on to it, y'all, holding on to it is not going to work. Essential oils. I was able to talk to a girl today, Susan, that is one of your essential oils, buddy, and had also been a client of mine. And she's going to be sharing her story and her recovery from domestic violence situation on Tuesday night here in Grapevine. I'm excited about that. But the fact that she is able to literally let go of the hurt, the disappointment, the anger, the violation of being in a very abusive marriage. We need to face these things, or else this anger is it's going to kill us. And you've heard people say that before too. Holding on to that anger, it's like drinking that poison, expecting the other person to die. But yeah, great feedback. The emotional healing, y'all, it doesn't manifest diseases. You cannot hold on to it. Basically, you have a choice. And here's the situation. You're going to either hold on to that grudge, and you've got a right to it. It's true. Something really happened that was offensive. But if you hold the grudge, and probably the higher of an IQ you have, the smarter you are, the more able you are to memorize details, probably the more likely you are to hold a grudge, and you're right about so many situations because you're so smart, but you're never right to hold that grudge. Hold the grudge. Yes, get deliverance, get counseling. But no matter what, make up your mind to not hold it, but to bury it. The grudge begins with a hurt and ends with a decision to either carry it or bury it. Carry it or bury it. No way. Do not carry it. Bury it. And honestly, if you're waiting for an apology, it's probably not going to happen. It really isn't. So I always say it's not that you have to let them off the hook, but you do have to put them on God's hook. So it's like a physical thing. You have to go like this. Put them on God's hook. Oh man, I know. That Dr. Caroline Leaf, she's a smart girl. I wonder if she has problems with anger. She has to deal with it too, right? Holding grudges. She's so smart. She probably holds grudges easily. She knows why people are doing stuff wrong, right? But this is stuff that we're faced with day in and day out. At the one time in my life when I was so angry at my husband, I was so mad at him. I just said, God, this would be easier if he would just die. If he was dead, this would be so much easier. And I would just cry out to God. And then God just talked back to me and said, Trina, it's not a good thing if you are wishing someone was dead. And I was like, I don't wish he was dead. I'm just saying it would be easier for me if he would be dead. It would be easier for me if I was a widow instead of having to deal with the anger inside me of trying to forgive him for this affair. I mean, I was just so mad. I was so mad. But God help me, y'all. It is amazing how God can deliver you from this anger. How God can just say, oh man, we can let it go. We can give it to him. I always say it's really not letting it go like it goes out into thin air, but it's not letting people off the hook. What they did is wrong, but it's putting them on God's hook. And it is much easier when they apologize like my husband did. Not only apologizes, but, just very, very, very repentant. It's easier. But until that time, Carlin, we just have to say, God, it's never justified, right? But it's hard for us to just accept an apology that hasn't happened yet, but we can't hold on to it, or it's sin, or those outbursts of anger happen, and then you turn into an angry person, and you don't want to be an angry person just because you've been violated. So when you get to the place of that rage and it's coming, y'all, I know it is so hard. Step one is realize your anger and admit it. Admit it, quit it, beat it. Until you really start talking about it, you admit it, you're able to even say the words out loud. God, I know this is wrong, that I wish he was dead. Well, I don't wish he was dead. It would just be easier for me if he died. You don't want to say that stuff out loud. That is ugly. The Bible says that's like being a murderer in your heart. And I'm just like, well, I'm just saying, I'm so mad right now. I wouldn't cry at his funeral. I would be like, oh, well, But no, God can deliver you from that. He delivered me from the biggest, baddest, most rage you could ever imagine. I mean, he delivered me. I wanted to kill the lady that had an affair with my husband and lied about for almost a year. I mean, I literally wanted to kill her. I'm just like, who does that? I was so angry. And I felt so justified in my anger, and I was. But you know what, y'all? It was just going to destroy me. It was just going to destroy me. So God and I had this real honest conversation. I had to realize my anger, admit it, quit justifying it, quit saying I have a right to my anger, right? It is a dark place, Wendy. You know this. Carlin, we have a right to it, but we got to lay down those rights. We have to lay down those rights to get the joy. Yes, to be able to get out of the pit of rage. We have to just let God deal with it. Let God deal with them. It is beautiful. And then that anger, we can let that anger motivate us. So remember, the wrong belief is I have a right to my anger, and I have a right to hold on to my anger for as long as I want to. I have a right to it. That's the wrong belief. It's only destructive. The right belief is I'm going to allow this anger to motivate me to pray. I'm going to allow this anger to motivate me even to love. Because what does love say? Love says that it does not keep an account of a wrong suffered. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm not stupid. I can't forget it. And God's just, yeah, but you know what? You give the account to me. So it's just like you've got an invoice, and you take that invoice and you mark it with a red rubber stamp. You like that? You mark it with a red rubber stamp, and it says paid. You owe me an apology, but I'm marking it paid. And I'm giving that back to you. God, his debt is to you. Their debt, whoever's hurting you, their debt is directly to God. Jesus paid their debt, and if they can't understand the beauty of the redemption of Jesus Christ, then they're going to face God's judgment someday. But for right now, Jesus says, yes, let me take care of it. Let me relieve you of the responsibility to make this right. And so, boy, and it's good. It's a good relief, really. It's a good relief. And it is a good relief. Yes, when we let our daddy handle the battles, I'm going to tell my dad on you. You like that? It's paid, Wendy. I paid for Sean's sins. Let it go. He paid for him, and that's for Sean to be redeemed directly through Jesus, And we certainly don't want our anger, those outbursts of anger, the fits of rage, and then the resentment. Remember when you resent it, it gets resent and resent and resent and resent, and it hardens your heart. And then you're a person that just walks around with a hard heart, and you feel like you've lost yourself because that's not who you wanted to be, So you got to take that victim mentality and say, okay, God, I give it to you because I'm going to walk around an overcomer, a victor, not a victim. Going to walk around an overcomer. I'm going to be victorious. I will. So realize your anger, revisit that, revisit the root feelings, talk about it, give it to the Lord, release your rights, and rejoice in God's purpose for your life. Rejoice, rejoice. Oh, Wendy, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's so good. Boy, we want to be mean back, don't we? We want to hurt people. Hurting people hurt people, and we want to hurt them back for how they've hurt me. It is counterintuitive to turn the other cheek. I'm telling you that right now. But the beautiful thing is to rejoice in God's purpose. Thank God in ways that in every way for this trial. No, God can use that unresolved past anger for your good, and he can help you resolve it. Praise God for his commitment to use every circumstance in your life. That's right. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. And again, I say rejoice. And you know what? And sometimes relationships are restored. In my case, in the case of my marriage, my relationship was restored. Sometimes relationships are restored, and that's a great thing. Sometimes the relationship on this side of eternity is not restored. Sometimes it's not restored. Sometimes divorce has to happen. Sometimes there has to be a boundary drawn. That when we stand up for righteousness, that there can't be a restoration in the relationship of the fool or the evil person that has really hurt us. Sometimes there can't be that restoration. However, and there shouldn't be that restoration sometimes, especially if there's been, it's been really, really unhealthy, which is all I'll be talking about Tuesday night with a Young Living group. Abusive relationships. They should not be restored. They shouldn't be restored. But you don't want to stay angry, okay? So you can forgive them, and you can just trust God with them without staying in that really toxic, bad relationship. But you don't want your anger to make you toxic either, right? Yeah. So rejoice in all that God has for you, y'all, and continue to walk in victory. God bless you, and thanks for all the great feedback today. I'll be back tonight at 9 o'clock. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.